Good evening, YouTubers. Reloading Bench back with you again. This FedEx package arrived the other day, but been busy with school and haven't had a chance to open it. It's from our friends at Alpha Dynamics, also known as Double Alpha, and it came from Orfield, Pennsylvania. FedEx. And what this item is, should be two of the same item. Let me pull out the packing slip. It is the Double Alpha adapter set for the multi-caliber mini XL650 and 750 case feeder. Check your order to make sure everything is there. So let me grab my case feeder. So here is my Double Alpha case feeder, which has worked flawlessly for years. I put this on recently because of the reason I had to order this, because I noticed a while back, and these are two of the same thing. And that is the adapter set for the 650, 750 case feeder. And I will open one. I bought two because they're $10 and shipping was $10. So it just didn't make sense to buy. I always hate buying something and the shipping cost is more than the product cost. So I bought two because this might be hard to make out of aluminum. I was thinking, one of the reasons I bought two was this product and what I've used it for, and I'll show the press. I'll probably weave the press in right about here in terms of the problem I'm having. All right, so let me pull this off. I'm not sure how easy or how clear. Let's see, do I have anything white? The packing slip. I'm not sure if that will show how this is damaged. But after years and years, thousands and thousands, I think I got this in March of 20, so 4.5 years ago. And I'm going to pull this out because I've been tinkering with it. So this I built, assembled, fabricated, whatever the right term is, because when this is full of brass, all you have is this sitting on top of this particular, and that can be weight centric. There's some weight potential issues there. So I built, fabricated this so that it would balance, so it would distribute the weight a little bit better. But in order to do this, I threaded this particular neck to match the threading. Let me pull this out. I threaded this to match. Actually, I don't remember what I did. But this is what has happened over time. So when you look at old versus new. So this is still viable. And in fact, maybe I need to make this whole piece just this whole thing out of metal, because yeah, I don't know. Maybe I make this whole thing And that might not be a difficult thing to do at all. So I think the project is going to be get a piece of aluminum that is big enough to, you know, do this, turn this down with the lathe, and then go in with the milling machine to do that particular cut. And then it's essentially, you know, again, not building this, but making this tube whatever size I need it to be to hold this. You know, it's not the strongest thing. And again, when you have a bunch of brass, it just, you know, the weight of this with all the brass, again, which is why I did the little hokey fanoky thing. And maybe the hokey fanoky thing is, you know, obviously this is here to hold this particular guide rod, another upgrade in. So my tinkering bear with me as I tinker. You know, my tinkering, I think what I did was I did, you know, something like this. Because you know, it's soft enough plastic. And I don't know if it's worth putting something else in here that sits in here, because this diameter is obviously bigger. This diameter is bigger than this hole, so it wouldn't add rigidity to it. So I don't know what I would want to do. I'm not quite sure what I want to do. But one of the things I'm thinking is, again, with welding, I could I don't even remember what this, I'm thinking out loud now. I don't even remember what this, it's been too long. It's been too long. Okay. All right, so this is this. Okay. So this was to lock this. Once I figured out the right height of this nut is to lock that in. All right, so that's that. So I'm back to, whoops, sorry about that. I just hit the camera again. I'm back to one of my thoughts. I'm just thinking out loud as I record here, is to take, I think it's 1/8. Take an Allen maybe the idea is to use an old Allen wrench, cut it, cut that much off the Allen wrench, so quarter inch, and then maybe I take this, which I'll use this one as my example. You know, I think, whoops, yeah, that's just falling apart. So the example is, that. So maybe my Allen wrench idea is I weld so that a piece of metal is the same diameter, a rod is the same diameter as that, that is welded onto this. So this sticks in that nut, the hex top of the head, and then the diameter of the steel goes all the way up to do what this was doing, so that it comes and sits up here, so it gives me that that support. And then I could actually weld a top to this that actually fits this, you know, cut something out so that it kind of locks in, so that it doesn't do this, you know, rotationary thing. So it locks in like this, and then all I'm doing is that. And yeah, maybe that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so more to come. Let me see if I have a rod that is that diameter. But parts of this broke off and no longer allow me to sit this easily on here, because this is what holds for the most part. This sits on top of, I think, the green Dillon part, the caliber case specific feeding part for the 750, and then I think this sits on top. I can't remember. I'll show you in the video. But the point being, this is just disintegrated over time. I mean, it's just plastic, and the wear and tear in plastic, whereas this polymer, a little more robust than, you know, this type, again, in my opinion, but could be wrong. So I will show I'll show the problem with the, which I probably have already because I've weaved it in, but I have not yet made that video, so I'm talking future past. Future being I will make the video, but by the time you're hearing my voice, it's past tense and you've seen it. One of the reasons I got the second was, aside from not wanting to pay more for shipping than what the product cost, is now that I have the mill and the lathe, maybe making something like this out of aluminum is not a bad idea or a bad project. You know, I could see that being, and even welding. So maybe steel, you know, making this out of aluminum would not be difficult on the lathe. But this is the part that is more susceptible to breaking. So I think all I need to do is replace this one. I think this part is still viable. But making this on, you know, CNC would be no problem. On my milling machine, you know, I could see cutting this out of aluminum, two phases, and then cutting that down, trimming that down. So maybe this is possible, and maybe don't need this. You know, when you see it on the press, you know, why is that angle necessary? So maybe making two pieces, and maybe even taking two pieces of steel and welding, and then grinding so that it's even stronger than aluminum. Maybe that's an option. So this might be the beginning of a longer project than I suspect. But let me go ahead and pull out the press so you can see what I'm talking about, and I'll replace one of the components. Again, I don't think I need this one. I think it's just this one. And because of my jankiness, maybe my jankiness is what helped it to break, because I threaded a bolt into here to sit in here because of the weight factor. And again, if this was made out of something other than plastic, the weight factor might not be such an issue. But enough talking. Let me get the press. All right, I think we have just discovered a project. So I do not have a rod that is this diameter, but I have a lathe that will make this rod this diameter. So I think what I will do is, again, I think it would make more sense to make this out of metal. Yeah, this might be a multi-project project. I think what I'll first do is make this fit in here, fabricate something to sit on top of here to fit there, weld a portion of this to the bottom of this so that this rod will go all the way effectively to, so this is what it would look like. So this would be in here. This rod would be welded to the top of this and cleaned off so that it sits. And then this rod would stick up and it would have a plate on it that would then fit in here neatly so that I would now have a steel, you know, the force of this. And you know what? There's a little bit of play here, so I'm wondering if it might make sense to force that with the rod. I don't know. But that's what I'm looking at. So I'll probably weld and then cut to where it's, you know, it feels good. And then I'll trim this down so that it fits. Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do. All right. And my hand was probably in the way for most of that, so that's kind of the idea. All right, we'll see what happens. So what I thought was going to be a quick replacement tonight of just popping this on is not. There's also the fact that, can this be higher? Like, do I need this at that level? So let me see if I can rotate. It looks like I can. Yeah, the last thing I need to do is break my green thing. So it looks like I can have this at a higher level. Yeah, we'll be experimenting. So it looks like, yeah, I can move this up. So I can, yeah, so if I have that touching, if I have that right here, this touches. So many choices, and I don't remember if the Dillon was flat or not. Honestly, can't remember. It's been too long ago. But it looks like if I have it sitting up top, I can do that. So many choices. All right, more to come. Hello, YouTubers. Reloading Bench back with you with this weekend update on what I'm trying to do with fixing or hacking a new version of the double alpha adapter set for the mini case feeder. But since you're probably watching the video I did earlier this week, you won't need me to repeat all this, but I will. So I think I threw some ideas around, and this is what I started tinkering with over the weekend. I actually tried to glue this one a little bit to use as my model. And if you recall, the way this was previously installed, it was like this. Actually, no, it was like this. So this, you know, I threaded this because this is not threaded. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but there's no threads in there. So I originally thread this, and then I screwed it on, and then I punched down the Dillon 9mm adapter, which, by the way, let me grab my calipers because nobody will believe me. This was a biatch to do in reverse. So I did this upside down, not for any other reason than I couldn't do it like this, because with my solution of the top of this hex sticking up so high, that's what this screwed into. My hack originally screwing that in, and then screwing this in to then put a bolt on top of here, nut, so that it would kind of rest as a support. A janky hack, but it worked for years until it didn't. So I played around. I took, as I said, my 3/8 inch stock, cut about a little over 4 inch, and put a thread on it. Found a bolt. So I have the bolt half on this, couple threads on this particular device, and I have a few threads on this. So right now I can move the press with this. I'm on the weakest area of the garage, but you know, this is solid. This is not going anywhere. So this is much better than my little, I'll call it plastic hack, because this hack, the only strength was right here in the neck against this screw. So any wiggle or whatever, and that's what we got, stress cracks until it finally broke. So this is a different approach, slightly different approach. But what I found over trial and error was, as I was trying to come top down, or I was trying to scoot this up, you know, I was trying to scoot this up as high as possible to clear this nut. I was like, why the hell won't this move? And I discovered that this is tapered. And you'd be like, no, that's bullshit. All right, so we're gonna go millimeter. So at the base, 23.64 millimeter, 26.43, 24.02. So this thing scooting up here got harder and harder, so I actually had to sand the inside of this a little bit so that I could get it up to this level to clear this nut. And it also clears, and I haven't put this on yet, it also clears this. So when this is fully on, this will go pretty far down. Let me make sure I'm zeroed again. This will go down. How far? That'll go 20 20 millimeters. So it'll go almost to the top of this. So it will clear right here. I've checked that. So there, it's on. I'm not going to punch it down. And the reason I'm not going to punch it down is because I have to figure out what I'm going to do, what my final height of this bar is before I cut it. Actually, it's a little cut off for you. Let me move this up a little bit. Here we go. Before I cut this off. So I put a thread on here, and then obviously I turned it down with the lathe. A very quick hack. Again, trial and error idea. But again, this is rock solid now in terms of not going anywhere. So what I think I'm going to do, now that I can't find it, or that I just touched it, it was on the bench 1 second ago. Oh, I love how shit disappears. Shit just disappears. Yeah, that was on the bench a minute ago. So what I'm going to try and do, here it is I'm going to fashion a plate that, here's my other one, that will fit in here, because that's what this will sit on. That's what will give it that extra rigidity. So I could just cut this down and have it poke right there, but you know, plastic and metal, it's only a question of time before the metal eats into the plastic. So when you add this, I lose a little space, so I can't just have a plate that looks like that. I guess I could. But this is what it will look like. I'll fashion a plate. I don't know if it's going to be a permanent plate in here, like glue it in or what. And then on the plate, I'm going to put, I'll probably glue it to solder. I'll glue it to hold it, and then I'll weld it. I'll do a couple of tack welds so that when this slips on, so pretend this is cut to height. So when this slips on, this is cut to height, and there'll be a plate, and in the plate will be this nut that will just serve as a collar to just catch this so it won't move around. So once this, and that's gone forever now, once this seats, so it'll seat on this collar, and then there'll be a collar, that nut on here, that will seat somewhere in here. Lots of fun measuring. So that's the plan. Very simple. So far, no cost. I have had all the parts, and I'll find some scrap metal to cut up and fashion as my my donor plate, and then I'll tack weld it. And when I find that nut that went nuclear a minute ago, that's the plan. So this is freaking solid. In fact, let me move this around so you can see that there is clearance, albeit not a whole lot, but this will tap down. So that will give me that extra whatever strength. So you know, worst comes to worst, maybe I'll fashion one of these out of steel or aluminum or something like this, a collar with a nut. Again, if it's steel against that this rod, that's not going anywhere. I'm debating whether I leave it in the raw, which I think I will, because the rest of the press is in the raw, so who cares. This will get cut probably right there, and that's the latest update. So you probably won't see this until everything's done and sometime in the future, but that from raw idea or bouncing around idea to coming up with a really solid, you know, double alpha, you know, you'd think you'd come up with something like this. But again, this is an option. So I think the original didn't even have on a 750, and I'd have to, you know, someone else tell me in the comments. I don't remember if the original, whatever this rod is called, this wheel on this rod. I think the original didn't even have, it was just a rod. I don't think it stuck up as much as this one did, so I think that's why I did the hack with the threading. But that's the idea I'm going for. And now it'll look more like this. It'll look more like that. And that collar, yeah, this one's too tight. But that's what I'm going after. So another hack, playing with the tools. Freebie hack, just my time, which is hobbyist. So yeah, I'm liking how this is turning out. So next time you see it, it will probably be in a more finished format with my nut, my plate, and my ability to pop that on. Kind of like, you know, the ability, the hack that I did for the now defunct company. It looks like the Bully Mag P. I think now it's just called the Mag P. Actually, it's called nothing because SoCal SW doesn't seem to be in business anymore. So that's a shame because this was a dynamite component. It's such a shame. But same kind of thing. Fashion something to lock it in so that it works for me. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Because no press is perfect right out of the gate, as we can attest to the springs. Alrighty, that's it for now. Later. Well, hello, YouTubers. We're going to do something a little bit different, a little arts and craftsy. We're going to use some Model Magic. So, a friend recommended trying this for what I'm trying to do with trying to get a perfect, because I'm going to try and make a plate that's very close to this. That's my goal. We will see how successful I am. So let's get a little paper going. We'll do some of this. I have no idea what, let's see, what are the directions on this? Model Magic is lightweight, spongy, and sticks to itself, not your hands. Shape it, mold it, and air dry to save your project. Use Crayola markers to paint or decorate. Well, we won't be doing that. Oh, that feels really, doesn't smell like Play-Doh. I wouldn't expect it to, but they compared it to Play-Doh, I think. What did the Model Magic is lightweight, spongy, and sticks to itself. No, I guess it doesn't say Play-Doh. All right, so we are going to jam this in here. Oh, looks like I grabbed about the right amount. So, we will fold that in. So we went grocery shopping, and there was an arts and crafts store down the street. So we stopped in, and they had all kind of stuff that was ridiculously expensive. And then they had this stuff. So my goal is to, you know, I guess without being able to see the bottom, I don't know how well it's, you know, it's forming to the shape of this thing. So my main concern is well, hopefully the bottom, maybe we'll peel some of this off. I wasn't even looking to see if I was on camera. Hopefully. All right, so that's that. So that was a $5 pinch of stuff. I will try to reseal this, and I will, this might be a little too big. I have a smaller screw. This is smaller. That's I'll put that in there so that if it hardens, it's gonna suck if this doesn't come out. All right, we're gonna let that set overnight. Come back tomorrow and see what we got. That is it for tonight's arts and crafts session with Reloading Bench. Later. It is now the next day. I was trying to find some strips of metal. I don't know if I have steel, metal, whatever. I don't think this dries. I mean, I can still, this is soft to the touch. I'm afraid that if I pull this screw, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Yeah, so I'm not too overly impressed with the one step up from Play-Doh. What is this called? Model Magic. I don't know if I'll be able to. Yeah. Model Magic is model bullshit. This is a no-go. I will clean this out and go to plan B. So this was a $5 waste. That was my only investment to date on this. Yeah, there's no way this is going to come out clean. No way. So we will start from scratch. Yeah, there was no way that was going to come out. So my next idea was a similar idea, and I had this idea previously. And that was to just do something like this. Where's the hard surface? Hard surface. Here's some acrylic. So we'll say that that gives me what I need. And what can I use? All right, so we're going to all right, so ultimately this stuff served its purpose. Because it gives me my template. All right. Or something round. All right, so maybe that's my template. Let me get a piece of cardboard. This is sacrificial. I'll use an Amazon bag as the first iteration. Take it back. I'll toss this. And go for this. All right, so there is my very rudimentary. Let's see if that fits. Now I just have to make this out of steel, huh? All right, do we have a fit? Well, I should probably trim this off. Let's see what we've got. Yeah, that fucking doesn't fit. That's nothing. So so this needs to come more like this. Let me adjust the camera. Maybe that's a little better. Not really. Oh, that sucks dick. So the real thing I care about seems like everything was a little too big. All right, so if that's a plate, that's still too tight. All right, so that's a plate that would fit. So I will use this as a bit of a template on a piece of metal. Where I get that metal, I don't know, because this is too small. So there's my metal. And this was a fucking waste. Well, I guess it got me what I needed. All right, more to come. All right, I found a very thin piece of steel, and I was debating on whether to plasma cut it or not. And I think I'm going to use the bandsaw, because I think plasma cutting will be a little too iffy, and this is not super thick, so I'm going to try that. I'm going to try and cut this out, see what happens. All right, we will call this a success. There was my template, and it came out pretty good, pretty close, considering I had to cut this with the bandsaw, then get the grinder out, then get a drum sander to get things good. But the message is that's what fits, and there's about 1/8 of an inch of wiggle room depending on where you wiggle. So again, the idea would be to somehow, this is a really thin piece of metal, so welding this, not sure how that's going to work. So I will have to figure out how I'm going to probably double-sided tape, attach that, then that, and then figure out where it goes, you know, where this nut actually needs to go so that it sits correctly on my janky jank. So I've had this piece of, I think this was for a Singer sewing machine, that's what that was. Yep, so a piece of history. A plate on the Singer sewing machine where the bob goes in, bobbin. So that's the plan. I'll probably do something like, you know, crazy glue to get it on there, and then maybe a short tack, but that's really thin metal, so it has to be a quick tack. All right, that's the update. All right, one step closer to finished. Did some measurements, cut the rod, and then played with my little plate and double-sided taped the plate in so that I could do some wonky stuff with CA glue, which is all the crusty stuff you're seeing there, temporary, so that I could figure out where to put the nut so that when I seat, when I seat this on top of the press, or the double alpha adapter for the 9mm green thing, this seats correctly. So I now have the ability to have better leverage across that plate for the weight that this introduces with the brass. Something double alpha should have thought of as well, because that's, even in brass isn't heavy, but when you have a couple hundred rounds, yeah, it adds up. So the next step is to take my witness marks, because I'm sure this will fall off, and I will do some very short, quick tack welds to hopefully hold this in. We'll see how that works. Yeah. So that will be the finish. So what I'll do is I'll tack weld this. My welder has flux core, and I don't want to be beaten on this. So I'll do it at school this week where I'm doing MIG, so I don't have to tap off any flux. And we'll see how that works out. So more to come, one more. All right, I decided to bust out the home welder, which is running flux core, and it just splattered all over this. I got the weld to where it's good enough, but yeah, my machine definitely needs to be dialed in. It hasn't been touched or turned on in over 4 years, and it definitely showed. So I will double side tape this in and then show you the finished product. And that is our finished product per se, and I'll take you over to the press. All right, here we go. Official maidenish. We're in. We've added a little bit of height because of the tape, and we'll see how this sets. Oh, that looks good. Looks good. I'll move the camera onto the front. There's the front view, and then I'll take the camera off tripod so you can see what it looks like under there. So it sits nice and solid. More than it was. Later.